Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Did you find your verse?
Yeah, I found a little scripture I want to share with y'all here in just a little bit pertaining to this whole thing that's being propagated across the podcasting world everywhere, from Sean Ryan's show to Free Range American with Evan Hafer to Andy Stump to all the veteran podcasts about using psychedelic drugs to treat PTSD in veterans, essentially. Yeah, we'll talk about that here in a minute. Hey, everybody, welcome back. This is the 3 of 7 podcast with Chad, Chili, and President Blake Wright.
That was the wrong order.
Yeah, well,
After your debut at the Mid-State Mile, it's starting to be more right order.
if you ain't first, you're last, son.
That was the wrong order. It's Chad, Blake, and Chili.
Well, I said this is the order we're sitting in.
You know, speaking of that psychedelic, it'd have been good if you had some of that at lunch today, the way that dog was treating you.
Holy smokes, man. We freaked them people out, didn't we? They just got up and
You
left.
started barking at him.
Oh.
The dog was barking at you. He turns around and goes, "Roar, roar, roar."
Speaking of dogs, we had, well, first of all, we had a really good team PT this morning. Everybody but Blake. Blake ended up quitting, as usual. But last night, I was getting ready for bed around about 11 o'clock. About what time I go to bed? About 11 o'clock. And, or at least I lay down to start reading, right? And so we're sitting there in the living room. We get up, and I see one of my dogs bow up in the doorway because the front door's open. And my dog bows up in the doorway and just like goes into slow motion.
And you're about to lay down?
No, I'm like getting up out from the living room, getting ready to go to bed. And I'm like, what the crap? And I look out, and there's a massive Great Pyrenees standing in front of our door. Door's wide open. And I'm like, what in the world? So we get our dogs in the house, go outside, and what had apparently happened was, with all the fireworks, that dog freaked out. Obviously, wherever its house was, it freaked out and probably broke out of the pasture or the fence. You know, Great Pyrenees is a farm dog. They take care of goats and horses, chickens, whatever. That's what they're bred to do. And I guess it broke out and somehow set up abode at our house. And of course, Brooke is a dog connoisseur. So this dog's out there whining. It's freaked out. It was a great dog, but she just can't rest. So she starts putting posts on the Facebook community watch page. And by this time, it's like close to midnight. And I finally convince her, like, baby, I know the dog's stressed out, but like, it's safe out there. These dogs are meant to live outside. They don't come inside. These Great Pyrenees, they prefer to be outside. I said, give it a little water, give it a little food. It'll eventually get tired once everything settles down, the fireworks are done. It'll lay down out there, and we'll get up in the morning and we'll find its home. Well, about 12, right along about 12:30, her phone bings, and somebody had left a comment on her Facebook post saying this is where the dog probably lives at. And so she says, well, I'm bringing this dog home. I said, good gosh almighty.
At 12 o'clock?
After, it was late. It was after midnight. And I'm like, well, I can't let her go right where we live. You don't just go pulling up to people's house that time of night. You'll get shot. I'm not joking. You really will. That's just the way country people roll, man. You don't go rolling up to people's house at night like that. So I went, I got my weapons on me, you know, and just in case, and said, all right, I'm going to ride with you. And we rode down there to that address, and she just pulls in the end of the driveway, gets out, lets the dog out. It's not the dog's house. The dog just has no clue where it's at. So I'm like, well, you know, what do you do? Like, I'm like, we know the dog came from down here somewhere because there's no houses past my house. so I'm like, you need to just leave the dog down here. There's no traffic on our road either. It's, and I'm like, just pull away, and the dog going to go down this road here, checking each of these driveways until it finds its house. So that's what we did, and apparently it made its way home because it was nowhere to be seen this morning when I got up early this morning and drove down the road, and the dog wasn't out on the road running around anywhere, so I'm sure it found its way home. But I was up, the all night last night on into the morning fooling with this stray dog. But, I'm not going to complain about fireworks. John Adams said the 4th of July, every 4th of July, it should be celebrated by going out and shooting off your guns and making a bunch of rackets, right? He said that's how you should celebrate it from this day forward. So it was good, we got to watch some fireworks laid up on the overlook, and, it's a patriotic thing. And after you read, that's the founding fathers intended on it being that way. It made my tolerance for fireworks go up because I used to not care much for them.
I don't like them.
Yeah.
I mean,
but now I'm looking at it in a different light.
You like them now just because John Adams said
I still don't like them.
Should be done.
Yeah, I thought, all right, the founding fathers wanted us to make a bunch of racket on the 4th of July, so I'm in. If that's what they wanted, I'm in. These men were geniuses. I'm telling you, these men, I believe, were some of the greatest men in history. As I was reading through the Declaration of Independence the other day, by the way, I don't know, I don't think many of y'all listen to that podcast because most of y'all probably don't give a crap about history, which is probably most of y'all's problem, because you don't care about or know history. But I read through this Declaration of Independence, posted as an episode. It's the one right before this one. No, 2 before this one. And it brought me back to a question I asked Nathan Hicks and all you guys the other day when I was talking about the tags on your vehicles. And I said, well, why do we let it happen? It's literally robbery and theft. Why do we let it happen? And of course, Nathan and Blake says, you will be governed. Nathan says there are greater offenses. And I'm like, okay, all right. I'm reading through the Declaration of Independence, and I'm like, these guys answered my question.
That's been answered.
This question was answered a long time ago. And this is it right here. This is it. Mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such a government and provide new guards for their future security. This is the reason why they answered it. It's obviously been a perpetual thing. It must be a human characteristic that we, as humans, we as Americans, would rather just suffer while the suffering is at a tolerable level. We'd rather just suffer than make anything better. All of y'all. That's what y'all would rather do. That's why things are the way they are.
That's what everybody's doing.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I said.
I'm saying these men were geniuses.
Yeah,
they saw this.
But that's what when stuff like that starts, people capitulate and let it happen, and then nobody does anything about it along the way till you're where you're at now. You'd have to get the whole country on board with you to stop paying the registration fee or whatever, the renewal.
But they would rather suffer because
exactly.
It's tolerable, right? Yep. Well, I mean, if these men were obviously right about that, they say, the second part of that says, after a long train of abuses and usurpations, after it happens, finally it gets to a point where the people are like, all right, screw this, right? Yeah.
But that's my analogy of it's like they've got their hands around your neck, and it's key that they let you loose a little bit. What they do, it's like they're squeezing, and then when it starts to get a little too tight, a little bit of pushback, okay, they let off a little bit, and then you feel that new freedom, and it feels pretty good, and then they'll clamp down again, and they'll do it a little further than they did the last time. So that way it's incrementally getting more and more tight. And then eventually they'll do that enough, and they don't ever overplay it, go too tight all at once. Then they can get to where you're completely...
Pop your head off.
Yeah. And then you can't do anything about it at that point. So it's very slow. Has to be slow.
We've lost the whole idea that governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed.
And that's
we've totally lost that.
Well, that's the problem. We have consented as a whole.
Yeah.
We consented to things we shouldn't have consented to. Right?
That whatever form of government becomes destructive of these ends, in other words, when the government is working outside of the consent of the governed, all right, it is the right of the people to abolish it and institute new government.
Yeah.
We've lost the whole freaking idea of that, man.
Well, what's the rest of that quote? It's the right, but also the duty.
Yeah.
To abolish it.
Yep. So, I like I say, it's amazing when you read the writings of these men and you think how similar their situation is or was to our situation now. I don't know. That's why I so highly esteem those men. And that's why I say if John Adams said we need to freaking make some racket on 4th of July, I'm in. I like fireworks now.
Well, he says a lot of other things we should do too, and we ain't doing them.
Yeah, I'm my own person, so I don't like fireworks. Still.
If you want to go against the founding fathers, I tell you what, buddy, you're in for a long ride.
So what are you going to do about that? You just read what he said to do.
I'll tell you what I'm doing
Tell
right
me.
now.
Let's hear it.
I am praying for more patience, and I am trying to establish myself in a position that when the long train of offenses become enough that people are fed up with it, I want to be in the position to help lead that charge. That's what I'm doing. All right.
There's not enough people now that would
No,
band together.
the train of offenses have not gotten long enough, obviously.
That's the question. How is that point determined? Because I would argue it's way past that point. But like there's two ways.
For you it is.
Yeah, exactly. There's two ways to gauge it. There's has it gone past that point in my opinion, and has it gone past that point in the majority's opinion?
Yeah.
That's what you have to get to. I mean,
Yeah.
it may be way too late once it's too far gone in the majority's opinion.
Well, y'all heard what Joe Biden said. You can't push back against the government without nuclear bombs and F-15s.
Yep.
That's what he said.
Or a double barrel shotgun.
No, that's out. That's for home defense.
Oh yeah.
The president of the United States literally said, "You think I don't have his quote here in front of us. I watched it.
Yeah.
I watched it, and the summation of it is, you think you can fight back against the government with AR-15s? No, you need nuclear bombs and F-15s to fight back against the government." I'm like, dude, have you been paying attention to what has been happening in Afghanistan? Have you paid any attention to what happened in Vietnam? Probably not, because you dodged the draft and you never went over there to fight for your country. Have you paid attention to what has happened when you go and try to fight an indigenous force with all your technology and all your air assets and all this stuff, to what end?
Yeah, you destroy your whole country.
Yeah,
Just blow up the whole country.
You want to nuke your country? What are you going to govern if you nuke your country?
Yeah.
A desolate wasteland? It was just astounding to me that the president of the United States will make a statement like that.
Yeah, it's like a threat.
It was a.
I mean,
it
it is
was a threat.
Yeah.
Like, you're helpless. By the way, for all of you guys, an AR-15, AR does not stand for assault rifle. AR stands for Armalite rifle, not assault rifle. All right? All right, there's your history lesson for the day. We had a good PT this morning. Blake quit. Chili did. Chili, I commend you. What has happened to you, man? You've really turned a corner, it seems like, this week. This is the most energy and the most really just upbeat I've seen you in quite a while.
What? Wow. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
you crushed that bike ride, dude. You had a lot of gas. You pulled past me multiple times just to show me that you had. I mean, he'd pull past me and he'd back down. He'd say, "I just want to show you I could beat you up that hill if I wanted to."
Don't take this as a compliment from Chad. This is Chad practicing his ownership of losing against you in PT today, so now you can't rag him about beating it because he's just owned the fact that you were pulling ahead of him. He's using his own tactics against you, so don't take it as a compliment.
Listen, I take everything he says with a grain of salt, but even if he's lying, he just said I did a good job at PT, so
No,
I'll take it.
He had a lot in the tank today. He really did.
Yeah,
mean,
I don't know what I did different, but
I seen him before I quit. I seen him. He was way up front.
you've turned a corner somehow. I don't know. I don't know what. And so I want to hear for the people that listen to the podcast, Chili's doing some weird freaking crap again. Of course, he's squirrely as mess anyways. He hasn't eaten anything all day today. We just did a 25-mile long mountain bike ride. Literally, when we say mountain bike ride, it means we're riding in the mountains on a bike. Like, this ain't no little trail loop groomed mountain bike. No, we're like going up and down mountains, 25 miles. And he ain't ate nothing, and he refused to eat anything at the restaurant. What the crap are you doing, man? What's the method behind this madness?
I just didn't feel like eating.
No, that's not true. You're doing something. You have some master plan here.
Okay.
What is the strategy behind this? Share it with the people, because it may be a legitimate strategy. I want to hear it.
Well, I hate to be I don't know. I hate to let you down, but I just eat when I feel like it. I didn't feel like it.
You're telling me you are not hungry?
No. I'll get hungry. I'll eat later. It's
Okay.
been about 24 hours. I don't know. Sometimes I keep everything guessing.
Do you think that it's healthy for you to not eat like that? Like truly, you talk about you're out here. We broke down muscle today on that mountain bike ride. Okay, now your body needs certain nutrients and things to rebuild.
Yep.
So how is this a healthy thing?
You can do. I like to train like this without food for a while and do different things. It's probably not overall the healthiest thing to do, but I just like to do that sometimes. But
Okay.
But as far as health goes, no. If you want my honest opinion, we want to have a little class here. It's what would be optimal is if I was fueling along the run with carbs, which I had sweet tea. I had a little sugar in that, so
Yeah.
And then after, as soon as I'm done, within a pretty quick amount of time, maybe 30 minutes, you put in, refuel with carbs, fat, protein, and then, as many micronutrients as you could get in that meal. And a lot of times people tout stuff like, if you want to get real into it, the 4-to-1 carb to protein ratio and everything else. But then there's also just this aspect of nutrition where some people constantly have to have food. Constantly. And I mean, obviously everybody has to have food, but I'm saying they just can't do anything and not eat, and they can't go a certain amount of time without eating. And I've just trained myself to where I can and not have a drop in performance. And that's really helped me in long races.
Look, man, we're trying to get you back online. All right? Look, man, I was hoping you were going to have something good reason why you were doing that.
Well, one of the reasons is it's taught me, it's good.
That's not where we're.
It's good training.
Right? No, right now we're not.
You're not
at
training.
We're
for
not
a
at
race,
that
Chili.
point right now. We're.
I'm always training.
No,
I'm always trying to get back into training if I'm not.
We are trying to get you back to 110%.
Health?
All right? Yes, and then we can start doing this silly stuff like this if you feel like it. All right? Because when you're at 110%, you can do this thing where it's potentially detrimental, and you knock that tap 10% off, but you're still at 100%, right? But when you're at 90%, all right, or 80%, or wherever you are, you can't do these things. You have to be strategic, right? And that we are looking to get you back at 110%. So
That's probably true.
okay, so we're not doing this anymore, Chili. You must eat. You must eat. You're sponsored by freaking Little Debbie's, dude.
Yeah.
You're sponsored by Little Debbie.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, an oatmeal cream pie would have been pretty good out there.
You dang straight it would.
You'd eat one of them Swiss rolls, wouldn't you?
No,
What's
I
your
don't like-
favorite Little Debbie?
Probably an oatmeal cream pie.
Mine too.
That's hard to beat.
It's my all time. It's got to be the oatmeal cream pie. I mean, I've ate them literally since I can remember eating. The oatmeal cream pie has been a staple.
Yeah, that's hard to beat.
You know, growing up, you know, kind of, I don't know if you want to say poor, but just growing up, you know, you got Little Debbie's around the house. You're not living in Atlanta, and there ain't no dang Whole Foods and you know, this kind of stuff.
I like the donut sticks. I guess that's what I liked when I was a kid.
Coffee or when as a
No,
kid,
just
yeah.
as a kid.
Honey buns,
Yeah.
yeah.
You had to microwave a honey bun.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you what's good, man. A RC cola and a moon pie.
Oh yeah. Well, I like.
Ain't there a moon pie, big moon pie thing up in Chattanooga?
Yeah, they make them in Chattanooga.
Oh, okay.
That's where it is, and that's where Little Debbie's are made too in Collegedale, close to Chattanooga. And but no, that's how you grow up. You're right. I mean, I grew up taking lunch to school. It'd just be like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, bag of chips, and a Little Debbie.
Yep.
I mean, that was just standard. I mean, that ain't how I eat now, but
No, you don't eat now.
when you think about it, you kind of want to go back to that. All this crap. Broccoli. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, all right. Let's talk a little bit about. Let's learn from Blake's mistakes this morning. I think there's some things that we can learn. You know, Blake came out. He set up this PT this morning, which was a legitimate PT. I mean, really a long range bike from where I live down into downtown Rome, cross country, very, very little using the road. Most of this was all through woods and mountains and stuff like this. And I was really excited, you know, and he set this up, you know, and he showed up extremely unprepared. And, you know, I just want to break this down. I want to see what you learned from it, how you feel about it.
Look,
No, I mean, no.
I
don't.
got a flat on my bike, and I didn't have another tube to replace it with. I had patches, and James had a pump, and we pumped it up, and the patches didn't hold. Walmart didn't have a tube yesterday for me to buy, and the bike shops were closed. I mean, that's the end of the story. Did you have a pump?
How'd you feel about his help?
Yeah. Out on the basic course, the team can only move as fast as the weakest link. They don't just drop them and say, "Hey, you want to walk back to the house?" Oh, glad you come to the restaurant, Blake.
Hey.
Do you got that money for me to buy my lunch? Because I didn't bring no money.
No, I asked you before we left if you had money.
Well, what was your plan after I had turned off? You didn't know if I was coming back down to eat or not.
James's truck was there. I knew James had some money.
Oh,
we
yeah.
get money. All right. Money's easy to get. Now look, here's the thing. If you ever come and do a team PT with 307 Project, here's the thing about team PT at 307 Project. This ain't no daggone team mission. This is team PT, but if you can't keep up, you out.
I
Yeah.
could keep up.
Look,
I just
man,
had a casualty.
this is the way we PT is you better be prepared. Look, we're professionals. We ain't students. All right, so we assume
Sponsored.
Chili's sponsored by Little Freaking Debbie. Look, if we invite you to Team PT, we assume that you're prepared to take care of yourself because we're getting after it. And, Blake was really unprepared this morning. Had a flat. Okay, now he's coming down the hill. And I'm asking these guys, say, what's his plan? They say, oh, he's just going to walk down here to the road. I said, well, let me go up here and ask him what his plan is. I went up there and asked him about what his plan was. He just, what was your plan?
I was trying to call my wife to see where she was at, and there was no service. I can take care of myself, son. I know them roads better than you know them. You act like you've been living up here for years and years. So I was either going to get her to come pick me up, or I might have ran into town. I could have done that.
Yeah, he said he was going to run into town.
I could have done it.
I said, son, that jogger still be
I
out
couldn't
there
have,
running.
couldn't have kept up with y'all, but I'd have made it to town. So, yeah, I walked a few miles and hitchhiked a ride back to my truck, went and got my bike, and drove on into town.
Who give you a ride? Just give him a shout out.
Chris Waters and his
Chris
daughter.
Waters. Chris, thank you so much. Chris, apparently, he said he goes out, him and his daughter just go out and ride them back roads, huh?
Yeah.
They're just out riding around.
Had a nice old Toyota truck. Jumped in the bed and talked with him through the sliding glass for a little bit.
Well,
Dropped me off.
that's the kind of people you want to meet.
That's country people, son.
But I do want to say, you was no more prepared than I was. You just didn't have a casualty to bring it out.
No, this is the thing.
No, tell me, did you have a pump? If something would have happened to your tire.
I didn't need a pump. I got tubeless tires,
Well,
son.
What, did they not hold air? What do they run on?
My phone
What
failed.
would you have done had your tire went flat?
Look,
What? No, stop. Were
Okay.
you prepared?
I'm going to tell you.
Were you prepared? Just answer the question.
Yeah, I was prepared.
You didn't have a casualty to bring out your unpreparedness, but you didn't have a pump. You didn't even have enough water. You had to go try to scrounge up some water. You didn't
No, I
know
had
if
a
there was any.
filter.
You didn't know if there was any water sources
Yeah,
out there.
I've rode that route before. I
No,
knew
you
there
ain't.
was water. And
Chad comes back up the hill. And
Get on him.
He's being real nice. Hey, Bubba, what's your plan? Okay. So how do we get down into town from here now? And
I knew.
and
I didn't
you
know what.
freaking liar!
I didn't know
you
what-
are a liar.
I did.
Then why did you ask?
Because I thought you had a special route planned.
Well, who cares? I was out of the race. Or out of the PT. Who cares what my route was? Y'all just go on the. Say, hey, Bubba. Do you need anything from me? Hey, can you show me how to get down to town from here? So I show him, and then we get back down around everybody, and he wants to play hard again. Hey, everybody, tell Blake good job. Get his phone out, filming. Cuts it off when I start talking about him not knowing where he's going.
Y'all see all this on Instagram today. I'll put it on my story, but I did know where I was going. I just didn't know if you had
yeah.
a special route.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
Totally, I knew you did. I that's why I told you. I just figured, hey, he knows. I'm gonna go ahead and let him know anyhow.
The reason his tire busted is because he wasn't being deliberate. with his riding, and he hit a rut too
I
hard.
thought you might say that.
Yeah, and so before we left, look, this is called preparation. I got my bicycle pump out. I inflated both my tires to the proper PSI.
I did the same thing here. Mine were at 30 psi, recommended by the pump for mountain biking.
He wasn't being deliberate, and he hits a rut too hard and bottoms his tire out and pinches his tire tube between the wheel and the tire, and that's why that's the result. All right. So if you ride like me, you're prepared and you're deliberate. You don't got to worry about getting a flat tire.
Have you never popped your tire and had to hike your bike back out?
I may have done it before.
Because you've told me a story of you've done it twice.
Yeah, that's when I was just on short rides, right? I'm not.
Oh, you don't got to be deliberate on short rides. Sorry,
I'm not looking
goes out the window.
as being as prepared on them short rides. You know, we had a long range ride.
Yeah.
So you can just turn on and off the deliberate.
No, I'm always deliberate.
Well, then what happened on those?
My tires was not aired up enough.
Well, should you not air them up enough before?
No, I knew. I probably on those rides when my tires busted, I actually wanted to run. I was hoping my tire busted.
Now we're ascending line here. We've went from just failure to now we're sending them.
I didn't even know you could tell a story like that. You let it happen because you'd rather run. That's full of crap.
What did Chad
Dude,
do the
y'all
other
don't know
day?
what's going through my head.
What did Chad do the other day in here when we had that podcast with PN and PN asked him why he wasn't being deliberate? I don't remember what he did.
What'd he say?
I don't remember. I just remember PN asking him.
Oh, when he cheated the workout.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he cheats workouts.
When I missed my jump rope.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. I hit the ditch a little bit hard, but
So the lesson here,
I went and bought a pump and some tubes, and I'm gonna bring them with me next time.
yeah, be deliberate. First of all, prepare. Make sure your everything's good. Be deliberate, and you probably won't have problems like that. And then also be prepared with the proper equipment if you do have a mistake. Okay.
So earlier I said that could have easily been any of us, that had the flat, but you disagree with that because that happened to him because he wasn't being deliberate.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
Listen, nobody's perfect. I'll capitalize on your next mistakes you make.
Hey, I got to get some water real quick. I'll be right back.
What, were you not deliberate with having enough water prepared for the podcast? Now you're going to make the listeners pay?
No, I drank it all.
What? Didn't you know?
Me and Blake got some stories. We'll
yeah.
What do y'all want to take a break or do y'all want to continue talking while I grab some water?
I got some right here. Let me get a drink. I packed plenty.
Well,
of
I don't know if this is a break or not. I don't know if they're going to keep talking or not, but I'm going to grab some
Oh, yeah,
water.
we'll keep talking. So, I want to hear what you have to say more. Now, let's let him get out. All right. I want to know what your perspective. When he is saying all that, what's going through your head?
Well,
Giving y'all the crap.
yeah, I mean it's just the same things happen to him. He just
That's what I'm saying.
capitalizes on other people's.
That's what I'm saying.
Mistakes.
So what are you going to do the next time something bad happens or he makes a mistake?
I'm probably gonna cut one of them lights on like that, but shine a light on it for just a little bit.
I mean, Chad, a lot of people, I think they don't think he ever messes up because they ain't seen it. We've seen it.
Well, and he if he's operating in an area he's gonna mess up, he ain't gonna operate there too long. He's gonna move on into an area that he ain't likely to mess up, which is exercising. He's real good at it.
Well, look, I don't know what they were just freaking talking about. I was getting water. Before we move on to talking about this psychedelic drug treatment for veterans, I want to let y'all know this episode was brought to you by Natural Rapport. All right? Now, I told you the dog story earlier. I want to let y'all know we love our dogs a lot around here, which is why we have partnered with Natural Rapport, and they now sponsor the podcast. Natural Rapport makes uncomplicated pet essentials. So we're talking about dog treats, snacks. We're talking about ear cleaner. We're talking about shampoo.
Even the, I could say cologne, but the scent you spray in between baths.
Yeah. They've got a whole lineup of stuff to care for your dogs. Most of their treats are single ingredient. They're all 100% sourced and made in America. So I don't know if you knew this, but the dog treats and stuff you're buying for your animals or for your dogs at Walmart, they are made in China and probably right down there in the wet market in Wuhan. Probably. You know what I mean? So, your dog's life is short. Give them some freaking good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Support the companies that support this podcast like Natural Rapport. You understand that it takes extra effort for them to source and produce this stuff in America? That means something to me.
Yeah.
All right? Not only is it better, and not only do I not have to worry about it coming from the wet market in Wuhan, China, and being infused with some coronavirus, even though that came out of a lab. Look, it's made in America. It's Americans doing this stuff, man. Go get you some beef heart jerky. This stuff looks and smells so good, I would eat it.
It's probably
I thought about eating some the other
the way
day.
it's made. You probably could.
Yeah, I thought about eating some the other day. Go check them out. Natural Rapport at nattyrap.com. NATTYRAP.com. Go give them a follow on Instagram, man. We would really appreciate that. If you've got dogs, get them some Natural Rapport stuff. I'll attach the link to their website along with a pro code that they have just for you guys, 3 of 7 podcast listeners, in the show notes of this episode. Thank you, Natural Rapport, for being a long-term sponsor of the 3 of 7 podcast. We really appreciate it. All right. Got a little chaotic during that ad. We've got kids walking in, dogs barking,
They want that. Sadie was barking out there because she wanted a beef tendon chew.
I gotta say that was the best time for her to bark.
Well, that is true.
She heard that. She heard Natural Rapport, and she said, "Son, I got to have me some."
Yeah. All
I
right.
don't know why. BK walked in.
She ain't seen me in a day or two. She's getting to that age, man.
Yep.
So, what? Look, man. So, y'all haven't heard about this treatment thing? This
Oh,
is,
yeah.
Like this is being propagated as like the savior for veterans with PTSD.
Well, I want to hear your full opinion on it, but there's a lot of different stuff. Like, I don't know. It depends on what exactly you're talking about. There's all kinds of new stuff coming out.
I ain't heard nothing about none of it.
Well,
Oh, it's big.
I mean, it's all kinds of, stuff that I guess you'd call non-traditional medicine, right? Like, using medical marijuana and everything. There's a lot of pushback about that. People saying, oh, you don't need to be using that, but they say, I mean, I don't know the studies or the research behind it, but that it, I don't know if it's THC, whatever it is, that give it to kids with epileptic seizures and it actually stops them. I mean, if there's a use for it like that, I don't see a problem with it, But then there's also this stuff that I think Chad's going to bring up about psychedelics and.
Hand me that notepad right there, Chili, beside of you. Thank you, buddy. Well, all right. Here's the thing. Here's one of the issues I wanna take up with this topic of using psychedelics to treat PTSD, depression, work through trauma, all this stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about just a small portion of what Scripture has to say about it here in a second. Here's the thing. A lot of these men that I've spoken to actually say that during this trip that they have on whatever it is, the ayahuasca, or there's some of it you can take, they give them pills. I don't know the names of all the drugs, but a lot of people are saying that they talk to God All right. Now, let me go ahead and clear this up real quick, ladies and gentlemen. If you think that you talk to God while you are under the influence of a drug, you are not talking to the God that we serve. You are not talking to God the Father, the creator of all of this. You are not talking to the author and the finisher of this world, your life, human life. No, you ain't talking to him, son. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, the Bible calls us out specifically to be sober, all right? When you are under the influence of a substance, you may be talking and even gleaning what you think is wisdom from something that looks like a God. That is very possible, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But you are not talking to the God. Therefore, whatever information you glean from this being that you talk to while you're tripping on some psychedelic drug is not truth. It is likely some sort of manipulative thing. In other words, I'm saying that you are likely, if you are conversing in a real way with a spirit, it is likely a demon. All right? That's the bottom line. Don't shoot me this line of bull crap. Don't tell me, maybe you don't, veteran, maybe you don't understand what we mean when we say God. We're talking about the God of the Bible, the only true God in the universe. All right? When you say God, that's what I hear. All right? No, you ain't talking to him on no trip. Period. That's my opinion on it. I know that there are quite a few men that commit suicide shortly after this treatment. Not all of them. I know that there are quite a few men that go through this treatment and say they experience some temporary relief, but eventually they're just back to square one. Let me tell you something right now. When you meet Jesus and you experience the indwelling of the Holy Spirit in you as his son or his daughter, it causes permanent change. Permanent change. It's not something that you get some temporary relief from, and a few months down the road, you're just back to square one. I think it's an extremely dangerous road to go down. Now, it's being propagated as a savior of veterans that suffer from PTSD. I'm going to tell you right now, I think it's a freaking bunch of crap. And you could not pay me enough money to do it.
Well, it probably...
Because when I experienced in a real way a relationship with Jesus, what the world do I need psychedelics for? Like, Jesus is the answer. 100%. It's the end-all, be-all. What were you going to say, Blake?
I was just going to say it. I'm sure it may be the answer to PTSD while you're on it, but at what cost, you know? And it's not sustainable. So if you're taking that to get away from the PTSD, then once you come off of it, then you're right back at square one, just like you said. And then at what cost did that temporary relief from your PTSD cost you in the long run, you know?
Well, I have a question. Actually, before I even ask that question, let me preface whatever I say after this, let me preface it with, I've never taken psychedelics. I've have no plans to. Never taken anything. So I have complete ignorance on what they experience.
Yeah.
while they're under the influence of that. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
well, it's described fairly vividly if you'll listen to some of these podcasts
and I have,
on these other platforms.
But I have, I can't speak from experience. So anything I say is, I have a lot of ignorance on this topic, and I don't think people with a lot of knowledge on this topic can even speak super articulately about it. But I certainly can't because of that. But my first question is, what is the treatment that you're talking about? You're talking about when they just take it like anybody else. They just take ayahuasca or dimethyltryptamine and then they're just tripping.
Well, it's in a controlled environment.
Right. They always are, right? It's like a leader of it.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of these treatment facilities, you have to go overseas to do them.
But that's the treatment. It's just like what you could go do it without PTSD. I mean, just people do it all the time. But they're just doing that experience to try to help their PTSD. That's what you're saying?
Well, I think I think there are some steps that they go through leading up to the treatment where they're, maybe they're sitting down with a psychiatrist or psychologist or a counselor, where they're, maybe bringing some of these issues that they're working through kind of front and center into the forefront of their mind, and then apparently the psychedelic helps them work through it. And a lot of the processes that I hear they go through is they go through the whole it's
ego death.
Well,
that's what I hear them say.
It's traditional also to where they're using, in a lot of cases, a shaman to lead these veterans through this experience, especially with the ayahuasca, where the shaman's, anointing them and taking them through this whole process, right? I'm reading a book right now called Playing with Fire, and I'm almost finished with it. It's an all right book, not the best I've ever read, but it's worth reading. And essentially, it's asking, it's exploring the topic of possession, demonic oppression, and also demonic infestation in a place. And, you cannot deny the reality of demonic possession, oppression, and infestation if you believe in the Bible. You just can't deny it. It was one of the biggest aspects of Jesus's ministry on earth, was basically casting out demons from people. And one of the questions it poses is, we look through the scriptures and we don't get a lot of reference on like these people that are possessed or oppressed by demons. There's not a lot of insight on how they found themselves in that position. Like, how did that happen? What led them to that point, right? And
inviting it in is one way.
This is what it leads to, is, this is, I think, potentially opening a door for possession or extreme oppression of these demonic gods that these men are having conversations with while they're tripping on this drug.
Right. So I just want to clarify exactly what they're doing. And what that sounds like to me, and like I mentioned, they talk about ego death is what they experience after, and it helps them let go of some of their ego, and they just feel better after. I don't know. What it sounds like to me, though, even though it's hard to here's my question always when they say they feel like they've talked to God. Well, what did you hear? What did you learn? What did you take from it, if that's the case? Because the Bible is very clear about that, about what you measure up, what you hear. If depending on the message, you can go. I mean, my opinion, to just be clear, is I don't know what they hear or what they see, but what I most likely think is happening is they are opening something up. I mean, if you want to call it a dimension, I don't know. This is way over my head, but they're talking to something, and it ain't truth. I mean, that's my opinion as well. It ain't, it's not. When you invite these things in, you're not inviting in the God of the Bible. I mean, it's a whole different ballgame. Man, I think playing with fire is a great way to describe it. You don't know what you're asking for. You don't know what you're talking to. What I don't know. I think it's very dangerous thing to be playing with.
Yeah, and you talk about, well, what are you hearing when you're tripping on this?
That's what I'm saying. I'm just curious. Yeah.
And then so if you took what you maybe had, what was maybe said, or what was the message of that conversation that the veteran had during that experience with this thing that first is portraying itself as God. Portraying itself, because these veterans are literally saying, I talk to God.
Is it portraying itself that way, or did they not know how else to describe what they're saying?
That could be the case too, all right? Now, if you took that message, right, and then took it back and saw and even looked to see if parts of it were in alignment with Scripture, I think that you would likely find some discrepancies. I think, though, that these spirits are very deceptive.
Yeah, you could have some truth.
That's right. There's going to be much truth woven into it because these spirits are extremely, extremely deceptive. All right? That's what Satan is. He's literally the greatest deceiver on earth.